Video tutorial for American Crow on page 105. A couple of things to note. For one, since we've been dealing with accidentals, you have a lot of those to keep track of in this piece. So at the very beginning, nothing in measure 1, but as soon as you hit measure 2, you're going to have to keep your eyes out for this E flat. So it's going to be the black key immediately to the left of your E white key. And then you see in this next measure, just to clarify here, that's the natural sign, as you know. And what that's doing is it's emphasizing that it's no longer an E flat, instead it's an E natural. Now we know from the explanations in the video tutorials earlier that technically every time you hit a bar line that everything is kind of canceled out, but this is what's called a courtesy accidental. It's saying like, yeah, it wasn't that long ago that we had an E flat, and I'm just reminding you that we were now on an E natural. Then in the next measure, we've got a sharp in front of that F, so it's going to be the black key to the right of your F, so F sharp. Then we go back and we do a lot of the same stuff in the second line. We even get an A flat, another E flat. In the left hand, we even have an E flat. So just keep your eyes out for all of those accidentals. Now, we know all of the dynamics by this point. We know what F and P mean. We also know about the measures. Allegretto means kind of fast, not super fast though. This symbol we haven't officially covered, I don't think. So this C, which is in both the treble clef and the bass clef, this is a time signature, believe it or not. It doesn't look like the time signatures that we've covered so far. It doesn't, of course, have a number on top of another number. But what it actually means is 4/4. Whenever you see this C, it's just shorthand for the 4/4 time signature. So that means you can count 4 beats per bar, just as you have been with all of your 4/4 rhythmic exercises. We see our finger numbers on top for the right hand, finger numbers on bottom for the left hand. That's all old news for us. We also see some slurs, which you had in Snow Goose. So these 2 notes are connected, these 2 notes are connected, these 3 notes are smoothly connected. But one thing that's new is that we have these little dots. These are not rhythm dots. These are not augmentation dots, which we'll cover soon enough. These are staccato dots, S-T-A-C-C-A-T-O. And what that means is that you play these notes anytime you see the little staccato symbol, usually below it in our score, at least right now. That means you play them short. So you're not trying to connect them to what comes before or what follows, but instead they're kind of their isolated incidents. You'll hear those when I play it for you. Now, one other thing to mention in terms of articulation, so like how you play the notes. We already covered slurs, we covered staccatos. We now have these markings here, as you can see in measure 7, these little horizontal lines. These are tenuto markings, T-E-N-U-T-O. And what that means is you hold out and maybe slightly emphasize those notes. And when I say hold out, I mean sustain them for their full value. So a full beat there, full beat there. Now they're on their own, so you're not trying to connect them to another note like you would be with slurs. But you aren't playing them super short like these staccato notes. So again, you'll hear that in the performance. One other rhythm-related thing now to point out, you've seen slurs throughout, but this is kind of fancy. We have a slur here connecting the G and the E flat and the E flat at the beginning of the next bar. So that means play that stuff smoothly within that slur. But at the same time, operating here, we have a tie where it's saying this is an E flat, this is still technically an E flat. That's just kind of how ties over bar lines work. It's saying sustain that note for a total of 2 beats. 1 beat for the first quarter note, 1 beat for the second quarter note. So just a little detail to point out there. Let me play the piece for you, and I'll also have a separate video where you can see what my hands are doing. So here's how it goes. So it's meant to be kind of jaunty, just like crows tend to be. So we'll leave it at that for this video, and then you can watch the other one for a bird's eye view no pun intended, on my hands.